Not content with your content? You've come to the right place. The Discontent Show with Joe Kuzma. Every brand starts with a story. Here's how you can grow your business by sharing it. Now, with today's topic, the host of The Discontent Show, Joe Kuzma.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of The Discontent Show. My name is Joe Kuzma, and as always, welcome back returning listeners. Welcome new listeners. If you're just catching on to this, a lot of good information that I've been going over on the previous episodes, which are my 5 pillars of content marketing. Now, if you're not familiar already, and I hate to be a broken record here for those of you who are the returning listeners, but content marketing basically is you blog, you do something like this, you record audio, or you post stuff to social media, send emails. It is content. Let me give you a good example of content, actually. I just launched, and it's very rudimentary. It's not even completely finished yet, but I started a hobby playing video games. I think I may have mentioned this on the previous episode. I was going back and playing old video games I didn't beat when I was a kid. Maybe they were just too hard, because, I mean, Nintendo games, come on. That stuff was ridiculous when we were children. Some of them just weren't made very well. They had bugs in them. You didn't know those things back then. It was a new medium, kind of like all of this. Well, today we're going to be talking about social media, which is still quite new to quite a lot of folks. So anyways, I started playing these video games, and it was catching on, and I'm posting it on Facebook, and it gets lost into the oblivion because, I mean, try and go back and look for something from like December or January, right? But I've played almost 100 games, and it dawned on me. That is 100 games. That's 100 reviews of video games that I have made. Maybe even more than 100, because that's like the ones I completed. There were some I didn't complete too. But just to get the gist of this, think about if you post one of those per day or every so many days. I have like a year's worth of content without playing another game until 2019. So you may have stuff that's already sitting around that could be repurposed quite well into the content marketing realm, especially on social media, because, well, you have a website, right? Hopefully you have a website, you have some type of web presence, or you have a business. Let's say you don't even have a website, and you make a Facebook page. How do you get people to see? What do you do with something like that? What are the benefits of that? Well, I know folks that are like my parents are still more of the traditional media. They don't even use a DVR. One of them doesn't even have cable. They don't watch a whole lot of TV. So things that show up in print, like a billboard, a newspaper, magazine, there's still value to all of those things. Don't think that the internet is an end-all, be-all, because you know what? Not everybody's on the internet. However, the appeal of these things, this is like getting on the page one of Google type appeal, is that it's free. Well, sometimes you get what you pay for, and none of this is really free. If you've been following me, I've talked a lot about the sweat equity, and your time still is your money, whether it's your time, somebody else's time that works with you as a partner, or somebody that you actually physically employ or hire. Like, this is like literally what I do for a living. Is post for social media for people. And it seems kind of silly, but, you know, there's certain techniques and there's certain styles and things to it. But overwhelmingly, yes, the benefits is that just about anybody should be able to do it. But again, you have to do it at least good. You can't have poor efforts. But as far as social media, it's like everybody's on there. You know, the neighbor's kid can do it and everything. And I don't want it to seem scary. I don't want it to seem like overbearing. That's always my thing. Keep it simple, right? The 80-20. But you know what? It's one of these things that have to be handled just right. And there are so many platforms you could be on. What is social media, for example? Well, it's Facebook, it's Twitter, it's Instagram, Snapchat. We could throw YouTube on there as a video platform. Google Plus is one of these things that I play around with, even though there are people on it, but it's because it's Google Sandbox. I mean, Google owns like 90-some% of the search market. I mean, do you even know what Bing is? Has anyone used Yahoo in the last 20 years? No. So you got those type of things. You've got Snapchat. I don't know. Did I mention Pinterest already? And it's like, oh my goodness, do I have to be on all of these things? No, you do not. You can be on several of them, and there are ways to manage and tie it together. So there are tools where you could post to some of them at the same time. I actually have some blog posts that are out already for different tools and utilities you could use to make these marketing efforts, social media marketing efforts. This is like a whole other branch of content marketing, okay? Social media marketing is you posting to Facebook and Twitter and everything like that. But I have put some of those tools out there. I don't put everything out. I could. It's not only, it's more or less just to protect you, because if I throw too much at you at once, it's going to be, I don't want to overwhelm you. So we try and keep it simple, but there are ways to put the same things easily. You don't have to open up Facebook, log into Facebook, type into Facebook, hit post, close all that out, and then do the same thing with Twitter and do the same thing with blah, 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 blah. Okay? There are easy ways to do that. And that's some more stuff that's going to be coming in a future episode. But overwhelmingly, social media, the main reason why you want to be on social media is because if your website or your podcast is just sitting there, you are not reaching, you could be reaching more people. Start drawing a circle. Like you have your website, picture a circle, then overlap that circle maybe with a circle for like a podcast if you happen to have a podcast. There's going to be some overlap in the middle, but largely two different audiences. Well, social media is kind of in the same boat. And social media, you shouldn't just be, and this is going to be my gripe when I talk about Instagram. As anyone close to me knows, I have a love-hate with Instagram. A lot of people on it, a lot of people love it, but you know what? It's just pretty pictures. How do you get that audience to overlap and circle back into your blog and podcast? Because that's what you should be doing. You should be sharing links back to a blog post. Everything should originate there. Because like I said, you know what? The reason I started this video game thing is I can't go back and find what I posted about Super Mario Brothers back in like February. But guess what? If it's on my website, it can be found. I found a lot easier, and it can also be reposted. I could repost it 2-3 weeks from now, 2 months, 3 months from now, next year. I could bring it back out because it's evergreen content that does not expire or retire. Very important there. Of course, if you're in a news-based field, well, you can sometimes repurpose some things. It all just depends on what it is. Like if you're myself and you're talking about, I don't know, a football team and a contract with a player, and that's a constant problem, you can rehash some of those bullet points sometimes, but it almost always has to be something new. Most of you are in a field where things stay pretty static and they don't change a whole lot. So just like this Discontent Show and my website, joekuzma.com, the information there is pretty much going to remain the same, maybe with some small tweaks as technology changes, but it'll be almost the same thing. Now, here's the important things, okay? Where should you be? Where are the benefits of being on these different platforms? Facebook is by and far the largest. I know some people groan. Some people roll their eyes at Facebook. Yes, we all have the people we disagree with, the way they raise their kids or their political posts or whatever. Get that out of your head right now. You don't want to talk about anything that can alienate any of your audience, and more than likely, you are not going to put your personal profile out to the world. I sure don't. I'm locked down. I'm private. I don't need people picking fights with me. I don't want people seeing pictures of my wife and kids. So keep that different, okay? Separate. By the way, that is usually, even if you're pretty much open to the world with your profile, which is how people friend you, by the way. Your page, if you have a business page, people like the page. It is public. You don't have to have a Facebook account to see or go to it. It helps build your SEO, that page one Google stuff that I'm always talking about, the search engine optimization. But Facebook is by far, it's the largest. It's the big pond, okay? It's the ocean. And you need to be in it. You need to be one of the fish in it. It's just the way it is. Now, in order to get seen on Facebook, you might have to put some money towards it. But a lot of people don't understand. $5 or $10 goes a long way, and you could target your demographics and stuff. And I'll be talking about purchasing ads and things of that nature in the future. And the reason you want to do that is because when you start a Facebook page, just like I did with the video game hobby, you're just inviting your friends. It's still just your circle of friends and family. You got to break through the glass ceiling and get strangers to look and view and become advocates of your brand and the things that you post. Now, don't get too discouraged on reach. If you're putting stuff out there and you're being consistent, it's something that is a work in progress. You got to keep those wheels got to keep moving in order for you to move forward. But Facebook, a lot of times, especially now, because they're trying to clamp down the fake news. They'd already been kind of penalizing businesses unless you see the things that say sponsored ads all the time, I'm sure, especially if you're on your phone, it's in the middle of the feed. That's how you get paid into there. Anything organic or free, it's not really cutting it much anymore unless you could get a few advocates to amplify that by sharing and liking the posts. You should always be liking and sharing your own materials from your page to your personal, but don't try and be overbearing. There are friends and family that are going to just ignore you, mute you, etc. So always do it within good taste. You don't want to be, sharing things from your page 8 times a day, 7 days a week. It will get a little monotonous and people are going to roll their eyes at you instead. But that's pretty much the Facebook benefit in a nutshell. Obviously, if you have a page on there, it's going to help Google find you too, because Facebook has a higher rank, a higher authority when it comes to search. Twitter is the place I like to go to and now they're being a little more strict on spam too, because you got some jokers out there that like to create these accounts and change names and build up followers and then sell these accounts. And Twitter's, clued in on this. And you, by all means, do not buy one of these accounts, because your audience is probably going to be 1,000 fake accounts that this person has opened and just followed that account from the other fake accounts. Or it's some network very similar where, it's, somebody overseas I don't know. I don't want to say anything disparaging. I don't want to make it sound like there aren't great tech people overseas, but I think you get my point of, somebody sitting in a room in Turkey or something, and they're click and follow on all these different profiles and just creating this garbage. The follower number isn't important. The real followers and real advocates you gain is what's most important. Remember, this is about networking, maybe meeting other people in your field, gaining new advocates, new clients, new customers, etc. Okay? And, it's not much it's a little different from Facebook because, like I said, obviously Facebook wants to make money, right? So that's why they want you to pay and advertise. They don't want it completely corporate. And now with the data leaks and things that came out not too long ago and all the concerns about your privacy, they're trying to more focus and hone back in on your friends and family. Whereas Twitter, you're going to be able to reach out to strangers and you could start following people that are experts in your field. Look for hashtags or similar accounts. As long as it isn't like a direct competitor, it's somebody that you would collaborate or speak with, why not? Find them on Twitter, become friends with them. If you follow people, sometimes they'll follow you back. Don't get into a habit of the follow-unfollow. It'll get your hands slapped as far as that's one of those tactics, like I said, where these people are trying to build these accounts and they're vanity numbers. If you have 400 followers, good. Even my own personal following isn't huge. It just depends on your subject matter, whether you have interesting things to say. If you're a celebrity, you're going to have tens of thousands, if not millions, or you're some major corporation. But if you're a small, medium-sized business, or you're somebody that's like an individual like myself, you don't want to get obsessed with those numbers. What you're just trying to do is get the message out there. And if you have a good message, then it's going to ripple across that ocean, that pond, that lake that is a Facebook or a Twitter, and it's going to get further reach out there. So your circle's going to get a little bit bigger. And if you're doing it properly, it's going to lead back to your website, your blog, your podcast. And all of those things just help you build your brand and business even further. Because remember, this is a platform that you're using. Hopefully, this isn't just the only thing you do. This is something that you're doing to try and market and get your name out there. And this is one of those ways. Now, I know Twitter seems kind of strange. You really got to grind the axe on Twitter. I haven't had a whole lot of luck paying for ads there because their ad placement is just strange. The only guy you ever see is I think it's the CEO of T-Mobile. That guy must own shares in the company is my guess. But aside from that, Twitter, it has a little bit larger of character count than it used to. I forgot what it's up to now. It was 140. It's 280 or 260 or something like that. But you could share links and stuff on it that go back and go back to the source, which, like I said, your blog and your podcast. That's where I don't like Instagram. And Instagram, you got to deal with square photos. You got to make sure you have things. Now, if you could take pictures and you have things that tend to be photography, that are good for photography, you know, let's say you make like birdhouses and you take a picture of a birdhouse and people like the pictures of the birdhouse. That's great. But it's really a tough sell, like if you're dealing with, I don't know, your doctor's office or something. Like, what are you going to take a picture of and put out there? That's where Instagram becomes a little tough. You also leading people back from Instagram to your business, to your other platforms like your website or your podcast. You can't really put links in there. If you put a link in there, it doesn't hyperlink. So somebody can't like just tap on it. Now you can put it in your profile, but you really get like one space to do that. So you have to put like your main URL in there, like at joekuzma.com. You can't put like joekuzma.com/ about or something like that, you know, to a very specific page or post. It doesn't really work that way. You can notify people. Some people take screenshots and screen captures of an article or a thing that they put up that's in conjunction with their latest content marketing efforts. And I guess that's okay. It's about the only real workaround. There are a lot of people on Instagram, and the one big benefit of Instagram is that there not only so many people that are on it, it's like if you post something on there, and somebody doesn't see it, they'll see it 2 weeks later. It doesn't disappear in seconds like it does on Twitter. Now, Twitter has like, you know, interesting tweets you may have missed. So if you put out something that's popular, you may see it later that day or the next morning, or if you get email alerts, you'll get it in your email. And that's pretty good to keep their content, just keep it going, repurposing that, keep it flowing. Facebook sometimes, you know, 2-3 days and then it's gone. Instagram just seems like it's forever. And if somebody looks at your profile, it's real easy to go down through the photos and see stuff that's there. So you can still connect with people there. And I don't want to discourage anyone from any Instagram efforts. But if you're already on Facebook and you're on Twitter, you got to understand these same tools. Even though Facebook owns Instagram, if you're not aware of that, and you can pay for ads that run on both, which is kind of cool now. The problem it being with Instagram is you can't use some of these same management tools to post to Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at the same time. Now, you can post something on Instagram and then share it to Facebook or Twitter, but then again, it's a photo and there's not a link. And oftentimes there's a link back to Instagram, which is even uglier. And it's just like if somebody's on Twitter and doesn't have Instagram, they have no incentive to click on that. They ignore it. This is an Instagram thing. I don't do Instagram. I'm staying away from that. It's kind of where I want to go with like Snapchat too, because I know there's like a lot of kids and a lot of youth on it. I totally dismiss the thing. It's almost like these story things you have on Instagram or Facebook. Yeah, everybody's got these stories now, and they disappear in 12 hours, 24 hours, 48 hours. That's all cool and stuff if you're communicating on an individual basis with people that you already know. But for this purpose of content marketing and trying to amplify your message, trying to get word out there, I'm not a big fan of it. Now, Google Plus is one you could tie into a lot of these different services where you could post multiple times, or you could put the links, or you could put the same title, same blurb, same everything. It doesn't mean people are going to see it. I don't know people that go on Google. I go on Google Plus here or there. It's because I use it. There's a few groups on there and communities that are like really worth their salt and my time of having a Google Plus account. But outside of that, it's more or less, it's Google's service. And when you post something that's a link on Google and somebody's searching for that link, Google is just going to show up further up the page. Now, if you do audio video, now YouTube is a video only platform. Video gets about 60% more response than anything you can write or say. The other cool thing is it usually shows up higher in search. And if it's on YouTube, guess who else owns YouTube? Google. So that helps your SEO efforts too. So if you have anything that would lend to being on a YouTube channel, which you could even do with the podcast, you got to kind of edit an audio file to a video file, which is something I could cover in the near future. You could have a YouTube channel and that can help your SEO efforts as well. I almost feel like I'm forgetting something, but it's like, yeah, Pinterest, I mean, it's all the demographics. I believe a lot of women are on Pinterest. It's also very photo driven, but you can have some links back to your materials. It pins a main image to it. You can have a small message that goes with it. I actually have a tremendous amount of followers on one of my blogs through Pinterest that I never thought was going to be there. And some of it you could set to automate, but again, it's one of those things where you may have to manually go into it like an Instagram and post separately. So what you're starting to see is that you may stretch yourself thin. Please don't do that. You don't have to be on every single thing. Remember, you want to do good, not great, but you don't want to be poor. You don't want to do things, I almost swore there. You know what I was going to say. Half a double dollar signs, right? Do things that you could do at least as well as you can do them. I don't want anything to be an abandoned graveyard of social media where it's not posted to and not utilized to the best benefit of helping your business. You got to have some stuff that's on there. If you have a Pinterest page and it has like one or two posts and somebody sees that, it's not going to put you, they're going to think you're out of business maybe. It's not going to put you in the brightest spotlight, so to speak. But if you do some of these things well and you get kind of a grasp and you're able to apply some of the principles, some of the tools that I'm going to end up showing you, or even for that matter, hey, hit me up, shoot me a message. I will help you out as best as I can because that's what I do. Social media is a very big component of this, maybe even the biggest, but I have it as the third because you're really using it to help leverage and get the word out about a blog or a podcast, the first two pillars more than anything. And in the upcoming episodes, I'm going to be covering the last two pillars, which is going to be email and ebooks. So I hope you look forward to that. This is an exciting one for me. I got to cut this short or else I could talk about social media forever because there are literally thousands, if not millions, of different avenues to go down this. So we'll pinpoint some of those later on a future Discontent Show episode. Until next time, my name's Joe Kuzma. Be safe, be good, and I'll catch you later. Hi, folks. This is Joe Kuzma. No, don't worry. You're not hearing things twice. I'm just here to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you for listening to today's show and being a follower and subscriber of the Discontent Podcast. And I want to remind you that if you're interested in more information about all the various things it is that I do, whether it be about this show, content marketing, or you want to ask a question, you may visit me at joekuzma.com. That's JOEKUZMA.com. Or you can follow me as well on Facebook. Make sure you get the page and not the personal profile. Sorry, it's only for friends and family. Also on Twitter at Joe_Kuzma, LinkedIn or Instagram. Also, don't forget, if you haven't already, subscribe, whether that be on iTunes, YouTube, or your favorite podcast provider so you don't miss out on any of the great episodes that we have. Once again, thank you again for your support. And I look forward, as always, to speaking and interacting with each of you again soon.